It's Monday the 15th of February, 1971. Across Britain, people wake up and head out to buy a morning paper or a pint of milk, and the money in their pocket doesn't quite work the way it did on Friday. The coins are different. The prices in the shop windows are written in a new and unfamiliar way. The change handed back across the counter looks strange in the palm of the hand. Overnight, a system of money that had lasted for centuries was simply gone, swept away and replaced by something the whole country was still learning to read. This was Decimal Day, the day Britain's money changed forever. It had been years in the planning, and it would take millions of people years more to truly get used to it. To understand what changed that morning, you have to understand what came before. For centuries, Britain ran on pounds, shillings, and pence. It was a system with a logic all of its own. 12 pennies made a shilling, 20 shillings made a pound, which meant there were 240 pennies in a single pound. Not 100, 240. There were coins most people today have never held. The threepenny bit with its 12 sides that felt chunky and solid in the hand, the sixpence, the florin, the half-crown that carried real weight in your palm, the 10-shilling note. There was even older slang wrapped around all of it. A shilling was a bob. A florin was 2 bob. The whole system came with its own language that everyone simply understood. Children learned it all by heart before they could do long division, and most adults could add up a column of shillings and pence in their head faster than anyone could do it on paper. If you grew up with it, none of it seemed complicated at all. It was simply money, the money you had always known. For all its charm, the old system had a real problem. It was slow. Every sum involving money meant juggling 3 different units at once. For businesses, banks, and anyone doing accounts by hand, it was genuinely laborious compared to a simple system based on tens. The case for change had been argued for over a century. Other countries had already moved to decimal systems and found them far simpler to work with. But it was only in the 1960s that the British government finally committed to doing the same. Serious work began in 1966. The plan was to replace the whole thing with a system where £1 was simply divided into 100 new pence. Cleaner, faster, easier to teach in schools, and quicker to handle in shops. The pound itself would stay exactly as it was. Everything underneath it would change completely. It was a decision that had been put off by government after government for generations, and now it was finally going to happen. The changeover was not sprung on the country overnight. Far from it. A body called the Decimal Currency Board was set up specifically to prepare the nation, and it ran a public information campaign for 2 full years beforehand. New coins were introduced early to ease people in. The 5 and 10 pence pieces arrived back in 1968, deliberately made the same size and value as the old shilling and florin, so they would feel familiar in the hand long before the switch. A new 50 pence coin followed in 1969, replacing the old 10-shilling note. By the time D-Day arrived, people had already been carrying some of the new coins around for 2 or 3 years. There were films made specially for shopkeepers showing them how to trade in the new money and how to give change. There was a booklet sent out called New Money in Your Shop. Schools taught children the new system in their lessons. There were posters and leaflets and television slots. There was even a decimalization song recorded by the entertainer Max Bygraves to help the message land with the public. Over £1 million of government money went into making sure the country was as ready as it possibly could be for the morning it all changed. Then the day arrived. To prepare for it, the banks closed their doors on the afternoon of Wednesday the 10th of February and stayed shut for 4 full days to convert every account and balance every book by hand. They reopened at 10 o'clock on the morning of the 15th to a decimal Britain. The remaining new coins appeared that morning. The 2 pence, the new penny, and the tiny new halfpenny that so many people would come to grumble about for being too small and too fiddly. Shops opened with their prices shown in the new money, and old coins were still accepted, but your change came back decimal. Buses and trains had actually switched their fares a day early to spread the load. In the bigger department stores, specially trained members of staff stood ready to help anyone who got lost in the conversion. For all the fears of chaos, the day itself was widely described afterwards as smooth and orderly and almost anticlimactic. That calm was no accident. It happened precisely because so much had already been changed in the 2 years leading up to it. If you were a child, that morning clutching your pocket money, did the new money ever really make sense to you? Or did you just nod along and quietly hope you weren't being shortchanged at the counter? For all that preparation, the switch still landed hard for a lot of people. Children were among the most affected of all, a generation who had carefully saved 3 penny bits and sixpences in a jam jar suddenly found their savings relabeled in a currency that didn't add up the way they expected it to. 12 old pennies were now worth just 5 new pence. To a child, the math simply felt wrong. And then there was the suspicion. A brand new penny was worth 2.4 old pennies, which made a direct comparison genuinely difficult to do in your head at the shop counter. That awkward fraction was exactly the kind of gap where a price could quietly creep upward without most people noticing. A lot of people were quietly convinced that shopkeepers were using all that confusion as cover to round their prices up. Whether it happened as much as people believed is hard to prove either way, but the feeling was real. And it was widespread. Plenty of families came home from the shops that first week absolutely certain they had just been charged more than they should have been. It became a common complaint muttered over kitchen tables up and down the country. The corner shop had put its prices up under cover of all the confusion. Everybody seemed to know somebody who was sure of it. Here is the part the planners could never fully control. You can change the coins in someone's pocket overnight. You cannot change the way they think nearly as fast. For years afterwards, a huge number of people carried on thinking in old money in their heads. They would hear a decimal price and quietly convert it back into shillings just to work out whether it was expensive or not. Older people in particular never entirely let go of it. Some never switched at all. Even now, ask someone of a certain age what something costs in shillings, and they can often still tell you without hesitating for a moment. Because for an enormous number of people, the old money never really left them. It just went quiet and waited in the back of the mind. Over time, of course, decimal money became second nature. Children grew up knowing nothing else. The 3 penny bit and the 10 shilling note slipped out of pockets and into drawers and biscuit tins and eventually into memory itself. The halfpenny, which had only been introduced to slow price rises during the switch, was quietly withdrawn in 1984, having outlived its purpose. Today, almost nobody under a certain age can tell you how many pennies there were in a pound. Ask a young person now what a florin was or how many shillings made up a pound, and you will usually get a blank look. The system that every single person in Britain once carried around in their head as easily as their own name has become a piece of history. Something remembered clearly and fondly by those who actually used it, and almost impossible to imagine for everyone who came after them. The coins themselves now sit in collectors' tins and museum cases rather than in pockets and purses. Decimal day was meant to be a simple bit of modernization, a tidying up of the maths, but it turned out to be something a little bigger than that. The quiet end of a way of counting money that had been part of British life for hundreds of years. If you still remember the weight of a half crown in your hand, you remember something most people never will.